Thank you for joining us today. I am Amanda Regan, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Customer Experiences at Swivl. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you as we embark on this exciting new journey with AI. In the ever-evolving landscape of education, adaptability is not just a virtue, it's a necessity. We find ourselves in the age of AI where technology is reshaping how we teach and learn. That's precisely why we launched the Adaptability Initiative. Through this initiative, we're forging partnerships with schools and districts to create dynamic learning communities that turn ideas into actionable strategies. Our focus is building essential skills for thriving in an AI-driven world, but also embracing adaptability for any new challenges that come your way. One of the key aspects of our Adaptability Initiative is collaborating with thought leaders like Adeel Khan. We believe that this knowledge is so vital that we want to make it accessible to everyone. And we're truly excited that you've chosen to be a part of this journey with us. Please invite your friends to join us next time. We're not stopping there, though. We want to partner with you and your school to co-create a more adaptable and resilient community. After today's presentation by Adeel, we'll be reaching out to discuss how we can work together and achieve this goal. I also promise to provide a deeper dive into our Reflectivity software, showcasing how it can be a powerful ally in your educational journey. For those eager to learn more, please visit our Adaptability Initiative website, which will be dropped into the chat. Now, I want to introduce our next presenter in our series, Adeel Khan. Adeel is a former teacher and principal and is now the founder of MagicSchool.ai, a generative AI platform built for educators. The mission at, Magic School is to use AI to help teachers save time, fight burnout, and thrive in the classroom. Adeel, you're up.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro and kind words. I'm really excited about the time together today. Like Amanda shared, my name is Adeel Khan, and I've spent a lifetime in education, and that started as a teacher, and then eventually I became an assistant principal, and then eventually founded a school here in Colorado called Conservatory Green High School. That I'm super proud of. We grew it from just a single grade with just ninth graders to all the way through with our first graduating class. Conservatory Green is a really special place and one of the top performing high schools in the country. And it serves kids who really need it. So I have a real heart for equity, and we serve a majority minority population as well as students from low-income backgrounds. And a lot of the work in generative AI has been inspired by my work as an educator that we've done with Magic School. So how did I get here to founding this new product called Magic School, or generative AI platform? Is a little bit kind of right place, right time. So after I'd founded my school as principal, I had moved into a role where I was coaching principals. And then after that, I took some time off and traveled a little bit. It was kind of like a little personal sabbatical. And I came back to the US after being in East Asia and Europe for a little bit, and in like November, December of last year. And right at the time that ChatGPT was changing the world. So I started tinkering with ChatGPT. As you know, a lot of my educator friends were in the classroom. I was kind of like thinking about what my next job would be. And this new technology just really struck me as having tons of utility for educators. And so I started tinkering with it, and I was like, okay, this is so good. And there's so many things that teachers can get from this. And it might begin to start solving that intractable problem we've had since in my career as an educator. And I think a centuries-long problem of just teacher burnout and really unsustainable roles that have been created for teachers. They have so many jobs and so many things to do. And I've seen some of the best educators I know leave the classroom because of things like, I want to have a family and have a kid. And I don't know that that's necessarily compatible with being a teacher. And these are the folks we really want in front of our students who've been leaving the classroom over the years. And, you know, it's not hard to find a headline that says that we're undergoing a crisis of a teacher shortage. So that's kind of like where the mission was born, was from this idea that maybe we can start keeping some of those amazing educators in the classroom, make their lives more sustainable with this technology. But I definitely didn't think that I would be building a software product. I'm a teacher, I'm a principal. And so I did what a principal would do. I went to my old school and I got some teachers together and I led a professional development session on ChatGPT. And what I did in that session was talked about some of the things I'll talk about tonight, like responsible usage of AI for educators. What do I use AI for if I'm an educator? And then I demonstrated the power of ChatGPT by just demoing a couple of things I knew that my teachers were doing in their daily lives in ways that ChatGPT could make it easier. And then I had them practice, and then I gave them homework. I said, use this in as many circumstances where you think it'd be valuable. And I'm going to come back in a week and I want to hear all the ways you used it, because I know that this is going to be something amazing for you and really exciting. And of course, the first time you see generative AI, it's pretty magical. And the teachers were floored after I demonstrated it for them. So I was like compelled. I knew that people were going to love it. And I came back a week later and asked those teachers that I'd met with, how they use generative AI, and the vast majority of them had similar responses. I got there after you left and just kind of forgot what to do. So I didn't use it. Or I got there and then I started using it and I tried to do the thing that you showed me how to do, and it just didn't quite come out right. So I just did it myself. And then there were one or two teachers who became power users and had all these really unique ways they were using it in the classroom. But they kind of presented the challenge that MagicSchool is trying to solve, which is, teachers are already so overburdened. They have so much work on their plates. It's really unlikely for them to become prompt engineers and how to learn how to use this technology that, of course, I was able to use a little bit better than them because I had a lot of time on my hands. But teachers are so busy already. Learning how to do that would be really challenging. So let's make this really accessible and easy for teachers to use and get the value that generative AI can offer simply. And two, when you get to the platform, you're like, what do I do with this? Answer the question for educators. These are all the best ways that generative AI can help you, all in one place, really simple to use. And then the last part of, I tried to use it and it didn't quite turn out right. You can count on if you use MagicSchool, it'll turn out right. It'll be pretty familiar and something pretty high quality that you can use in your classroom. As long as you do the right thinking ahead of time, which we kind of prompt you to do, you get some pretty high quality outputs. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into using AI. That's what I tell everyone to do if they're wondering about it, they've heard about it, it's in the ether. I'm going to share my screen and show you some cool use cases for AI and jump into MagicSchool as a platform, which at the moment is completely free. And there will always be a free version of the product like the one that I'm showing to you today. So this is MagicSchool, and if you want to follow along with me, you are very much welcome to. If you created a new account at www.MagicSchool.ai, you would be walked through the exact process that I'm doing in front of you right now. But the first thing I ask you is to create a profile, but since I'm not going to create a profile right now because I don't need to, but in the future, this would be valuable to you because it's going to understand you a little bit better and help serve you better. So fill that out if you get the chance. But since I'm demonstrating this, I'm going to just jump right into it. And the first screen that you show, because we really care about responsible usage for teachers, obviously you're doing really important work and putting some of this material in front of students. So we want to make sure that you're using this responsibly and ethically before you jump into using AI. And this is true for MagicSchool, but it's true for any generative AI platform that you would use. If you wanted to use ChatGPT, these same principles would apply around best practices. So one, check for bias and accuracy. AI can occasionally produce bias and incorrect content. So double check the work before presenting it to students. You are still the professional, and it's important that you are using this as a tool, but not the be all end all. For your work. The 80-20 approach. So you use AI for the initial work, first draft, but again, review it for bias and accuracy and contextualize it. You got a lot of the work done ahead of time with AI, but you still want to make it really contextualized to the use case and for the students who are in front of you. Your judgment matters. Think of the AI generation as a starting point, not a final solution, and always, comply with your own school's guidelines around these things. Know the limits. For us, as well as ChatGPT, the knowledge stops at 2021. So when you're dealing with recent topics, it might not be as accurate and it's more likely to make things up. So stick with things before 2021 when you're using MagicSchool. And then protect privacy. Sending off personal student details like names and addresses is not best practice for anything on the internet, but certainly true for AI as well. We have our own processes in the background as if you accidentally submitted that we scrub and anonymize data, so you don't have to worry about it. But again, it's a good practice to be in the habits of, is you don't want to be putting out student information, even if it's unintentional, into the web where it might be going public and used in different ways. We won't use it in nefarious ways. We don't sell any personal information, but it's just a good habit to be in. And then we'll get started with Magic School. So what the heck is Magic School? It is an AI assistant for you as a teacher with a mission to fight burnout. And it's this series of over 50 different artificial intelligence tools powered by generative AI that do a multitude of really, really incredible things that can help make your work easier. And in some cases, even augment you and your ability to do your work. It can help you think of things you might not have ever thought of before because you have the access to this brilliant genius assistant who knows so many things about the world. So I'll just spotlight a couple tools here. One is like this YouTube video summarizer or question generator we just launched. It's pretty cool. You type in a YouTube URL and it'll generate questions for that video that you can put in front of your kids if you have a hook for your lesson that you want to kind of really draw them in with, and you want to make sure they're paying attention to the video. There's a lesson plan generator where you can put in your standard or topic and additional context to build a lesson for your students. There's these math story word problems, one of our more popular tools, where you can, like I mentioned, do things you might not have been able to do without AI. So one thing that's fun here is you can say things like, build me some word problems with one-step equations and make it in a world that is a Roblox world with ninjas and wizards. And it will contextualize that and knows what Roblox is, and it will build you a really cool word problem that might engage your students because it piques their interest in the things that they do in their off hours outside of school. There are a lot of really specific tools like the science assessment generator that's like NGSS aligned science assessments. So you can build some of those based on the things you're teaching. You can build reading quizzes based on text you're teaching in class, automatically, instantly. And I'll go through these and actually demo them for you in just a second. But just to get a feel for like the breadth of tools on here, there's a lot of communication tools that allow you to email families with just a few words, write your class newsletter, lots of things you can do with Magic School. And the idea is teachers do so many different jobs that there's so many different tools to help them with those things. And of course, there's these favorite buttons that if some of these are not relevant to you, just favorite the ones that are, and they'll sit at the top of your toolbox so you can use those more regularly. But we'll demo one of the tools, and one of our most popular tools is this rubric generator tool, and we're going to go next. And like I mentioned, we want to still put the thinking on the teacher. So you're going to do the thinking, you're going to outsource some of the doing to AI. And on this rubric generator, you'll see you're prompted to put in the grade level, the standard objective you're teaching, the title of the assignment description, the point scale, like, what's the point scale you want for your rubric. And then even some additional customization. If like you want to add a row about something, you want to be really specific about it. You fill in all of these things. We're going to autofill it for you in this tour. And then we'll hit generate. And right before your eyes, you'll see a rubric in context of all the things you put in here being generated. Pretty cool. Something that as a teacher would take me at least an hour of time, especially with the formatting and all the things that go into it, generated for me in just a matter of seconds. After you generate an output, you can click this copy button in the bottom right corner, take that to wherever you'd like, your Microsoft Word document, your Google Doc, your Google Classroom, and it just will copy in the format you see. And we have these really cool things at the bottom that we call modifiers that just can take whatever you generated and do new things with it. So in this case, we're going to add some questions because when you introduce this to your students, you want to check that they actually understand the rubric and they understand what they're being graded on. So we're going to generate some multiple choice questions that are based on this rubric, and you'll see they're right down there, and they help assess that your students actually understand the rubric. Pretty cool. And then the final thing that I'll demonstrate here is Raina, who's our AI assistant. She's an AI chatbot for educators, so kind of like ChatGPT, but just contextualized for folks who are teachers and aligned and kind of given a lot of research and strategies that are helpful for educators, and will only answer questions that are education related because that's what it's made for. And a couple of really cool features in Raina. We auto-populated this. So this is how do I handle a tough parent conversation? So this is super powerful because it can be just in time support for like maybe novel circumstances. You can be more specific than this. Like, how do I handle a tough parent conversation with a parent who told me they're upset that another child hit my child in class? And it'll be even more specific the more specific you are. One thing that's another kind of thing about AI that's kind of counterintuitive to the way that we've learned the internet. When we search, we usually search with really simple, like, maybe a couple words. But with AI, the more specific you are, the better the output. So something that's worthy of knowing as you're using our tool or ChatGPT or anywhere, like be specific, you'll get better outputs. So I'm going to just hit this green button and say, how do I handle a tough parent conversation? You'll see Raina respond with some really thoughtful ways to handle that tough parent conversation. One really cool thing about our Raina chatbot is that it actually gives you suggested follow-up questions too. So right down here, it says, well, what if the parent becomes confrontational? You can just click that and it'll give you kind of the next thing. So it kind of does some thinking of like, maybe there's something I didn't think about. So it's helping you do the thinking as well as you go. And then you can always like ask a different kind of question. There's so many use cases for a chatbot, but one of the ones that I always think about is like, I'm teaching third grade. What are some good texts that will help me teach theme to my students? And Raina will give you some really good ways for a third grade teacher and some suggested books and texts that would be really helpful to help you curate the things you want to put in front of your students. So as an idea partner, an idea generator, it's a really useful tool to get that just-in-time support for like, you might not have access to your school administrator and you need like help with something that's unfamiliar to you. AI is incredible as not just like a resource, but it can also, again, apply to novel circumstance. So you can put in the exact challenge you're going through very, very specifically, and it will respond very specifically, which is, again, kind of counterintuitive. We're used to doing these really simple searches, and AI challenges you to do more because it can do more. And the more specific you are, the more happy you're going to be with the results. And that's true for our chatbot. And it's also true for our tools. And that's why we set them up in the way that we have, where, we ask you a bunch of things before you generate so that you can get a really high quality output that you'll actually use, not just like kind of a generic output. I'm going to demonstrate a couple other really powerful tools that I think that are really popular. One is this academic content generator. This is one of my favorites on the platform. And I'm going to pretend I'm a ninth grade teacher. I'm going to say I want 1 page length. I want a procedural text, and I want it to be about building a community garden, because that's the project that my students are doing in my entrepreneurship class, and say that they need a lot of specific guidance because they've never gardened before. And we'll click generate, and you'll get a really amazing text that gives you kind of all the things you'd want to see in a step-by-step guide. Again, they need a lot of guidance. And then you can do things like add questions to this to help build your lesson. So I'm adding some free response questions to make sure that the kids actually read that procedural text. You can also translate into one of 30 languages for maybe students who speak different languages or their first language is in English in your class, which works beautifully. If you know anyone abroad, the whole platform can also be translated into different languages. So at the top here, you can just pick any language here and the whole thing will change and the outputs will as well. But that is in kind of broad strokes what Magic School is. You can do things that are silly too. You can generate some teacher jokes. We can make some jokes about mitosis, and let's see what it comes up with. Why did the cell go to therapy? Because it had trouble dividing its problems. You'll get some really strong eye rolls with these. And that was one of my favorite things about being a teacher, is getting those eye rolls from students. So I've heard a lot of teachers love this tool. They use it. I had a teacher tell me recently they use this after attendance every day. And they ask students what they want for the customization options. And so some fun tools in there as well. Some student support tools that are also really like just-in-time supports for teachers. So if you have like a really challenging behavior in your classroom, I know that it's like for second graders, a behavior might be student hides every time the teacher turns their back. And this will give you some like in context of the actual behavior, like accommodations you might give the student, like interventions, in addition to like why this might be helpful, right? So like it's also kind of teaching the user like this is something that you can do. and then it would be helpful for helping the student not hide for this reason. And it's like a really powerful way. And again, you might not use all 5 of these, you might just pick 1 or 2. But if you're really struggling and just stuck, which, as an educator, I often was, like, I've never seen a student who's done this before. Like, I just don't even know where to start. AI is a really awesome partner for you and thinking through some of those challenges that you face. There's some really cool tools where you can manipulate text as well. And I'll show you one of them. And I'm just going to do some copy pasting here of The Great Gatsby, which is one of my favorite books and one of the first books I taught when I was a 12th grade English teacher. And we can do a lot of things with this. One, there's a really powerful tool here that's a text leveler tool. So The Great Gatsby is written on like an 11th or 12th grade level, and we can level it down for a student who might be a little bit behind grade level and needs more accessibility for the text that you're trying to put in front of them. And you'll see instantly that text get rewritten on 9th grade level. So you'll see the syntax changed a little bit. So it's a little bit more easy to read for a kid who's a little bit behind grade level. And again, you can still ask questions, translate, all that good stuff. There's some other really cool text manipulation tools, things like I mentioned that reading quiz generator right here. And for that same Great Gatsby text, if I could put a longer excerpt in and I wanted to create just like some accountability for students, if I assign this reading for homework, and I want to just give them this quiz right when they walk in the classroom to make sure that they read it, it'll automatically read the text for me and generate a simple 5-question quiz to make sure that students did read it when they were at home, when they came into class. And there are just a multitude of tools here that you can really dive into. Another really popular one is the song generator. You can put in anything that you want. We can say Miss Seaman, who is one of my favorite teachers at my school, who's our math teacher. She loves math, has a bunny named Theodore, and loves smoothies for breakfast. And we can put it to the tune of any song again before 2021. So we'll say Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, and we'll click generate. And it'll write me a song about Miss Seaman that might brighten her day. That is to the tune of Shake It Off, about things that I put about her. So a real fun way to brighten someone's day, some silly aspects of it as well. But a lot of really cool tools for you to dive into here, and really thrilled about the opportunity that Magic School and other AI tools bring to lighten teachers' loads and help them live more sustainable lives. And we're just at the very first inning, just the start for AI. So there's a lot more cool things coming. We're certainly launching new things soon. But the world is changing in a lot of different ways. And again, I want to just reiterate a couple things. One, I don't believe that AI will ever replace a teacher. Teachers are irreplaceable. So much of the foundational things of being an educator is about the relationships and connection that we build with students. And AI will never be able to do that. And I still think it's really important to have a human in the loop. So a teacher needs to be approving, looking over these materials, editing them, making them really contextualized for their students. And then finally, I think that a teacher assisted by AI can be really, really powerful for their students. And we can start accelerating the growth of new teachers through their ability to get these kinds of answers really quickly. So I'm excited about the potential here, and there's certainly a lot to learn, and making this a part of your workflow is easier said than done. But hopefully Magic School is a really good starting point for folks. So thanks so much for the time. I'm happy to take any questions. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here.
If you have any questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A. We can go ahead and answer those. We did have one in there. Oh, Wendy has one also. So deal. The first one is, been playing with your product and I love it. I'm curious though, it seems to be free. Is the plan to keep it free? I'm cautious to promote it widely in case it becomes a paid service. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So the answer is it will be free in the form that I just showed it to you. So what you're seeing in front of you today, there'll always be a free version of this app, and we're not planning on like gutting it and making a premium version, and then all of a sudden all those things you were using, you just can't use at all. But we are going to launch a paid version of the app because we got to pay the bills. And it's just going to have a couple more features that will be exciting and hopefully will make you want to subscribe to it at like a modest cost. And then we also partnered with schools and districts, which is actually where we really want to like have folks pay. So we'll have an individual subscriber model. We've already kind of signed on some schools and districts to kind of deploy widely. And if you're a school or district interested, we do things like professional development to help folks understand how to use Magic School, in addition to some customization options, as well as some more control from the district level in the way that the teachers use AI. And you can find out like how to do those district partnerships through our website, which is MagicSchool.ai, and there's a work with us button at the top. But no need to be fearful. There will always be a free version of the product, and it will be very similar to what you saw in front of you today. It won't be that all of a sudden you can do 2 generations and like that's kind of it, or we completely eliminate a bunch of tools. It will still be really capable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We have 2 more questions for you. One says, I love the text leveler tool, but I'm wondering about copyright issues by modifying a literary work. I think copyright issues are a big deal in the AI world, so I'd love to hear your answer to this.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's something that as an individual user, you shouldn't have to worry about at all. There's certainly, especially in the modification part of that, because like you can imagine if you yourself just did that by hand and modified a text, that's perfectly legal. If you're kind of modifying it, you're not selling it for commercial purposes, you're just using it in your world, so it doesn't really come into any of those issues. But I think that your question, Leslie, around just like copyright and things like that, there are ongoing lawsuits against OpenAI and some of these LLMs around copyright, right? If it has read literary works and can do these things, like it's a real gray area, and one that will be litigated over these next like months and years. There's no reason, I think, at this point for an individual user to be concerned about that. Certainly should like OpenAI and maybe us and other like major LLMs be concerned. Yes, but it's not necessarily, it wouldn't completely ruin a product. It would more like, I think the best way to put it is like, it won't have as much, it won't be as smart as it was before if certain data sets had to be taken out. I think that's the worst case outcome here. But I also think that we will likely see that outcome. We've seen a couple other countries already say copyright's not enforceable for AI. Like Japan passed this like months ago. But it's not, I don't know, it's not something that I think an individual user needs to be concerned about, but it is definitely happening. So I don't want to like pretend it's not. There are definitely copyright issues, but again, you're not selling it, you're not doing anything that would be out of bounds. So nothing for you to worry about right now.
Thank you. All right. So this is one that I know you're passionate about. So I think I'm going to be interested in hearing you say this. It says, how do you encourage teachers to handle the use of AI with their students? If a teacher has used AI to create a quiz, should this be acknowledged? That's
a great question. I think that it's for the individual to decide. So from my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily, I would personally not feel so compelled to have to tell students that I used AI to generate this quiz because I reviewed it. I made sure that it was a useful thing. The same way, again, this is just a personal thing. I wouldn't tell a student that I use the teacher next door's lesson plan that I borrowed from her, right? Like we do this, I think the best teachers, they beg, borrow, and steal, and they use materials that they didn't necessarily create all the times. So for me, I wouldn't feel any ethical dilemma for not doing it, especially because I reviewed it. I feel really good about it. But for anyone, like, I think that's anyone's prerogative to feel the way that they do. And I certainly understand why you might want to tell a student that. But I think that I don't think of it that differently from like when we use templates to build things. We borrow, modify another teacher's lesson to get that's really good that we need to teach to our kids, but we contextualize it for them.
Perfect. Thank you. And our final question here is, are there any planned integrations like with Microsoft Teams or any of those tools that are often used around schools?
That's a great question. We're currently, the next big launch will be kind of new ways for Magic School to kind of be everywhere you are. So there'll be integrations with other platforms, kind of like easy ways to get it to your LMS, those kinds of things. We probably won't integrate in Microsoft Teams, mostly because Teams is a communication platform like internally to staff. And Microsoft Teams will likely have their own AI tools built in. Microsoft owns OpenAI, which is the biggest the biggest AI company in the world right now, or the front running company. So they'll probably have, Teams will likely have its own integrations with AI. So stay tuned for that if they haven't already integrated those. But some of those integrations are really cool. So they'll do things like, let's say you walked away from Teams and you want to summarize, you want to come back, like, you went on vacation for a day and you came back the next day, you can have AI summarize all the chats for you. And what did I miss yesterday? And I'll give you a quick summary of all the things that were chatted about in your Teams chat from the text side. And then Microsoft Teams from the video side, just like Zoom has done recently as well. And we're on Zoom right now, but Microsoft Teams video chat also has this, where it can, if you come in late to a meeting, it's a really cool feature. And districts will have to unlock this themselves. If you come in late to a meeting, it'll say, this is what you missed, because it listened to the transcript of what we were talking about and summarize it for you. So you can be caught up even if you came in late. And then also, if you enable certain features at the end of your video meeting, you'll get things like, that's powered by AI, you'll get like a summary of the transcript of the meeting. This is what was discussed. These are the things that you missed if you had to miss the meeting. So definitely some really cool things about how we're going to be using AI and kind of all over the world in tech.
Thank you, Adeel. We've learned a lot today. MagicSchool.ai is such a cool product. I used it today. I sent a tweet out. My kids were sick last week, and I created some supplementary lesson plans because I had some questions that were still remaining. So I appreciate it. It was super cool. I encourage everyone to go check it out. So thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here, and like thanks for everyone who attended. I'm so grateful for your time, and hopefully this was worthwhile.
Definitely. All right. So as we move forward, let's remember that adaptability is the key to navigating this ever-changing landscape of education. Swivl's committed to standing by your side and providing the resources, tools, and expertise needed to create resilient learning communities that can thrive in this AI-driven world. If you're interested in learning more about Reflectivity or the Adaptability Initiative, we can set up some time to meet. Let us know in the chat or respond to our email that will contain the recording of this session. Next week, we have Matt Miller sharing about the future of classwork with AI. I'd love to see you here, and I'd love to have you bring a friend with you. For more information about the Adaptability Initiative, you can visit our website, which is in the chat right now. And now I think I am going to show you how Reflectivity can support your skill development if you want to stick around and participate in that. Thank you so much. Adeel, we appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good one. Okay, so let me show you how the genius of Reflectivity is that it puts the teacher into the driver's seat instead of teachers having to receive directives from the top. Teachers ID skills that they want to work on, for example, in AI, and Reflectivity then guides the teachers through the skills development journey, prompting check-ins, reflections, and discussions with peers working on that skill. Because this is Swivl, of course, you can add video evidence. All right, let me show you what I mean. All right, I'm going to drop us in here to the inspiration board. And I did add some of the skills that Adeel mentioned and some of the things that he talked about. So responsible use of generative AI is a big one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click that. I see that I have other peers that are in the this topic area. So this skill area. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join them on this journey. And so now I can see that this is the skill I'm working on, and these are all of my colleagues that are working on this particular skill. I'm going to pretend that a little bit of time has gone by, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the check-in button, or I'm going to click this button here, and it's going to prompt me to tell them how I feel, if I want to feel about being the responsible use of generative AI. And for me, I want to feel informed about this because it's a subject that I think is super important. And the way that I learn about this kind of thing is I tend to read articles. So I'm going to read an article about that, and then I'm going to continue. It's going to bring me back here. What it's going to do then is after I have read the article, a little bit of time has gone by, it's going to send me a notification. It's going to let me know that I need to come in and review what I've done and really just check in with myself on how I read that article. So I said that I wanted to be informed about the responsible use of generative AI, and I want to say how it's going. So after reading that article, I feel really motivated. But I want to do a little bit more than that. I want to talk about what it was that I read. So in this little reflective prompt, I'm going to go ahead and write like that I read an Ed Week article, what it taught me, and then I'm going to go ahead and continue that, and I'm going to click next because I've let everybody know. And my next step along this journey is going to be joining a learning community. For me, that usually means joining something on Twitter. I might follow somebody like Adeel or MagicSchool.ai, any one of these areas where people are talking about generative AI. There's so much out there. It's great. So I've completed that. I'm going to come back. It's going to remind me again that this is my plan for the week. And then if there are people over here, I have some potential discussions that I could talk about in this area. I asked, can AI write a good IEP? And not only did other people see what I wrote about that, but they also responded to me so I can continue to post comments on that. And that's really what this is all about. It's just a little step pushing you along, making you continue to develop your skills over a set period of time. If you want to learn more, you can go ahead and scan the QR code or go to swivl.com/reflectivity to learn more. I want to thank everyone for coming again today. Have a great evening, everyone. Thanks again.